It's a reason why I never, somebody need to meet. It's a reason why. Islam. All praise due to Allah. Happy holy day. Our first speaker of the day. I know she gonna bring it because she always do. She always delivers, and she always delivers from her heart. So I want to hear what Allah has placed upon her heart. Without further ado, I will call our sister, our beloved sister, Sister D. Slay Hill. Islam.
Islam. Islam.
Islam.
You ain't even catch me off guard like that. Oh man.
You gotta stay ready so you ain't gotta get ready. So you know how they do us. You gotta stay ready so you ain't gotta get ready.
Oh man, that's real.
You got it though, sis.
I just had okay. Today the 6th. Hi. I feel like this is the same chapter I demonstrated on the last time I spoke, and maybe it's just another highlight for myself. I went to chapter 6, and I read and just go from there. So, chapter 6, Life and Works of Jesus in India among the Muslims. A royal prince of India, Ravana in the south, was met at the Jewish feast. Ravana was a man of wealth, and he was just, and with a band of Brahmic priests, sought wisdom in the West. And as I demonstrated last time, when I see that he went and sought wisdom in the West, it's a signification that he came from outside of himself. He went to go seek wisdom outside of himself. And I got that based upon the fact that when you see East in religious terms, it's symbolic of going within. So when Jesus stood among the Jewish priests and read and spoke, Ravana heard and was amazed. And when he asked who Jesus was, from whence he came, and what he was, Chief Hillel said, "We call this the day star from on high, for he has come to bring to men a light, the light of life, to lighten up the way of men and to redeem his people of Israel." And Hillel told Ravana all about the child, about the prophecies concerning him, about the wonders of the night when he was born, about the visit of the Magian priest, about the way in which he was protected from the wrath of evil men, about his flight to Egypt land, and how he then was serving with his father as a carpenter in Nazareth. Ravana was entranced and asked to know the way to Nazareth, that he might go and honor such a one as son of Allah. And with his gorgeous train, he journeyed and came to Nazareth, the Galilee. He found the object of his search engaged in building dwells for the sons of men. And when he first saw Jesus, he was climbing up a 12-step ladder, and he carried in his hands a compass, a square, and an X. Ravana said, "All hail, most favored son of heaven." And at the end, Ravana made a feast for all the people of the town, and Jesus and his parents were honored guests. For certain days, Ravana was a guest in Joseph's home in Marmon Way. He sought to learn the secrets of the wisdom of the son, but it was all too great for him. And then he asked that he might be the patron of the child, might take him to the east, where he could learn the wisdom of the Brahms. And Jesus longed to go, that he might learn. And after many days, his parents gave consent. Then, with proud heart, Ravana, with his train, began the journey towards the rising sun. And after many days, they crossed the sand and reached the province of Orissa and the palace of the prince. The Brahmic priests were glad to welcome home the prince. With favor, they received the Jewish boy. And Jesus was accepted as a pupil in the temple Jagannath. And here he learned the Vedas and the Manic law. The Brahmic masters wondered at the clear conceptions of the child and often were amazed when he explain to them the meaning of the law. I just found it interesting that Ravana heard so many amazing things about the child called Jesus. And when he got to him, I feel like his lifestyle wasn't a portrayal of what was, I think, expected of somebody that's supposed to be the Messiah. Or, you know what I'm saying? When he catch him, he out here building like a regular person. You know what I'm saying? He doing work on himself and within himself. And what I got from this is when he spoke, Ravana couldn't even understand for real the concepts he was speaking, but he see him demonstrating. He like, bro, this a lot. You got too much. Come with me. Just come with me. Show me some more. I can't take all that holy breath in like that. And I think for me, it was that reminder that I had the duty to be at work, to constantly just be demonstrating the work within myself instead of trying to explain what the thing is, if that make any sense. I find that it causes confusion when I speak too much on my religion, pretty much, or if I'm just speaking too high on spiritual concepts. It's about if we're able to go up in those ethers. I feel like our job as angels is to bring that down to the rate of atmosphere so it can be in the grasp of our brothers and our sisters, if that makes any sense. So that's just really what I got out of that today. And I yield.
Islam, 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 Islam. Beautiful demonstration. You know, that's true. That's true. I will never forget, and I think I told the Moors this once before, years ago. Uh, I was having a conversation with the Sheik Hopkins Bey, and the conversation was about, some elders had been accusing me of teaching lessons that, I should not be teaching. They said I was teaching ADEP lessons and I should not have been teaching ADEP lessons. But my thing was that I had never been through the ADEP chambers at the time. So I was like, well, how can I be teaching ADEP lessons if I'm only demonstrating what I have learned from the Quran? And then too, I never considered myself a teacher. I always invited people to come and study with me. So it was a experience of learning that we were having together so far as I was concerned. So I asked him if it was possible for me at the time to be teaching lessons that I should not be teaching, or ADEP lessons, and he said, absolutely it's not. He said, even if you have been through the ADEP chambers, the only thing that's asked of you is to know your student. All right. So this is the issue. The Quran teaches us that the fault is not in truth, for that is amiable, but the weakness of man beareth not his splendor. Meaning that we don't always deliver it at the right time, because remember, there's a season for everything. Sometimes ones that we are trying to demonstrate the truth to are simply not prepared yet by God, that's who time we on, to receive that truth. All right. At the particular time where Ravana was sitting there at the Feast of Pascha and he heard the prophet Jesus speak and teach, it was the right time. All right. It was the proper time for him to receive. And therefore, it was a blessing for the world. Because what possibly could have been if the prophet Jesus did not travel with Ravana and be a pupil to learn even higher degrees in that school? Islam was, I'm going to call our next speaker. This is my beloved brother, and again, I know he's going to come and he's going to demonstrate what Allah has placed upon his heart, because he always do. I'm going to call the Sheik Ricardo Bey. Islam.
Islam, Maurice. Happy holy day. All praise is due to Allah, and the highest of honors to his noble and illustrious prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times. Islam. I give honors to the forerunner of the prophet, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, founder of the UNIA, purity made flesh so that men may comprehend. All right, and as I said a few holy days ago, purity is so important. because we know that purity paves the way for love, and only the pure in heart can recognize the King, Islam. So purity is key when coming into this institution we call the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. I give
Islam.
honors to the Moorish flag. That is the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center. The 5 points represent the 5 highest principles known to man: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam. And we know that our flag is over 10,000 years old. Praise Allah. I give honors to the American flag as well, as that is the flag of our birth. Both flags conjoin, representing us, the clean and pure nation, Moorish American, Islam, and we are Muslim. Praise be to Allah. Right? I give honors to the past, present, and future leadership of the Moorish Science Temple of America, because Allah is leading on and victory is sure. We cannot fail. Islam, like chapter 1 says, there is no failure for the human soul. For Allah is leading on and victory is sure. Islam.
Islam.
I give honors to all things that were given honors to previously, honors to all things Moorish, honors to each and every one of you for making your holy day meeting, because today is Friday, the holy day for all Islam, all Muslims all over the world. Praise be to Allah. Moors has been a toiling week, man. I'm coming off a lot of traveling myself, a lot of travel to different lands, and I'm finally stable for the month until next year. Praise Allah. And my week, reflecting on how important for me that silence is, right? Actually taking time and being still, right? Um, it's a challenging thing when you're constantly on the go, when you're constantly moving, engaging, interacting, travel, so on and so forth. And, for me, right, I know that's something that I have to improve upon myself, is taking more time to be still and listen to that still small voice, right? Because, in the moving and passing through the lands, you think you got it, right? But you'd be surprised how quickly you can, get off the path, right? Slight, right? So it's all about retuning ourselves. And that's what this week has been for me, is just retuning and realigning myself, right? So I'm going to be demonstrating from the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And this pamphlet was divinely prepared by the holy and illustrious Prophet Noble Drew Ali. All right, the mission statement can be found on the front cover of this Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and what its purpose, right? And the purpose is to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his Father God, Allah. Islam.
Islam. Islam.
These lessons are so important, Morris, right? These lessons teach us how to think, what to think, and how to completely realign ourselves and retune ourselves with Allah, right? And what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali has laid down for us to do. Islam.
Islam.
So I'm gonna draw from 2 chapters, right? Kind of blow out the point of what the Grand Sheik was demonstrating about the time and place. And Buju Banton, he's a famous reggae singer. He has a song called Time and Place, right? It goes, "There's a time and place for everything." Islam. Prophet teaches us on page 3, by the time appointed by Allah, right? So there's a time and place for every and everything, right? And this applies to each and every one of us here. Islam. So
Islam.
I'm going to go to chapter 12, and it can be found on page 19 in the Standard Quran. From the Holy Prophet, Jesus teaches the common people at a spring, tells them how to obtain eternal happiness. Man, eternal happiness. Can we imagine what that is, or what that could possibly be realized to be? Eternal happiness? Whew, that's something powerful right there, right? So, instruction 1, it reads, in silent meditation, Jesus sat beside a flowing spring. So you see, he was still, right? Wasn't speaking, silent meditation. It was a holy day, like today, Friday. And many people of the servant caste were near the place. And Jesus saw the hard drawn lines of toil on every brow, in every hand. There was no look of joy in any face. Not one of all the group could think of anything but toil. And Jesus spoke to one and said, Why are you all so sad? Have you no happiness in life? Instruction 4, the man replied, we scarcely know the meaning of that word. We toil to live and hope for nothing else but toil. And bless the day when we can cease our toil and lay down and rest in Buddha's city of the dead. And Jesus' heart was stirred with pity and with love for these poor toilers, and he said, toil should not make a person sad. Men should be happiest when they toil. When hope and love are back of toil, then all of life is filled with joy and peace. And this is heaven. Do you not know that such a heaven is for you? I'm going to stop right there. The reason I'm reading from this chapter is to the point of time and place for everything. And the next chapter we're going to go into is chapter 15. But I want to point out that before Jesus went with the message that he had for these poor toilers, he had to sit and be still with himself first. He had to gather himself before he delivered the message. All right. Time and place. All right. He had to be still. And the people that he was coming to, they couldn't think of anything but toil. All right. And they did not know that this, when love and hope are back of toil, the all of life is filled with joy and peace, and this is heaven. They had not known that because they had been working so hard. They probably worked so hard. They maybe at a point they might have known that, but they probably were working so hard they forgot that, and they're hoping to go to this place once the manifest of their life is complete. But Jesus come to remind them that no, your heaven, you can have that here and now, right? Keep love and hope out front. These things are important more, especially as we're traveling, as we're moving, as we're doing our business. We can't forget to keep those key elements at the back of our work because, and many of us on this call, right? Might work in a 9 to 5, you might have 2 or 3 jobs, but you have to take that time and remind yourself of these things because we get so caught up in what seems to be as we're moving throughout the lands, right? So time and place here, right? Group of people, he sits still, he's meditating, and then he goes to deliver the message, right? So I'm gonna cut over really quick to chapter 15, right? I want to point something out here. Chapter 15 can be found on page 23, right? And it reads, the divine ministry of Jesus. Jesus goes to the wilderness for self-examination, where he remains 40 days, is subjected to 3 temptations. He overcomes, returns to the camps of John, and begins teaching. And I'm going to go to, let's start at instruction 15, right? And it says, but Jesus said, right? And just to give a little backstory on this situation, right? He goes into the wilderness and, he's wrestling with himself, right? These 3 tempters, which are essentially his own thoughts, right? While he's in this wilderness, it could be a physical wilderness or the wilderness of his mind. He's searching his heart, right? To see if he's able to give his life a willing sacrifice for men. Islam. And with his own thoughts, he's being tempted. You see? Because you see, all of us, we struggle with this it's a day-to-day thing. We struggle with it, right? Do I have the strength to overcome and give my life to whatever it is that you're doing, right? Whether you're building a business, whether you're trying to better yourself, whether you're trying to better your family, it's a constant ongoing strife, right? But I want to show y'all something that's so important about this chapter. In the end here, it says, after instruction 15, it says, but Jesus said, away from me all tempting thoughts. My heart is fixed. I spurn this carnal self with all its vain ambition and its pride. For 40 days did Jesus wrestle with his carnal self. His higher self prevailed. He then was hungry, but his friends had found him and they ministered to him. Then Jesus left the wilderness, and in the consciousness of holy breath, he came into the camps of John and taught. I'm going to stop right there. Let's go back up to 16. I want to point out something very key here. For 40 days did Jesus wrestle with his carnal self, his higher self prevailed. He then was hungry, but his friends had found him and they ministered unto him. So back to the point of time and place. In chapter 12, there was a time where Jesus had to sit with himself before he had a message to deliver to people that needed it in that time, right? In that season, in that moment, they needed what he had to share with them. And in this chapter, the table's reversed. Jesus needed his friends to come and minister on to him. So back to the point of time and place. There's a time to speak and there's a time to be silent and to be ministered on to you. This is why we need each other, Islam, because, to the point, in transparency, this last week and a half, because I haven't been moving, trying to, wrestling with myself with things that's going on. I needed a message today. And I need, this is why we need Holy Day, is to come into the temple to be recharged, right? To have the message delivered onto us, to revitalize us. So when we go back into the world and we're toiling and we're working, we can call remembrance to our aid. Because here we have friends, we have family. This is a family-based institution. We need each other, right? So the point is time and place. There's a time to deliver the message and there's a time to receive one. Islam. So I pray that my message today was received in love and peace. And I pray you all have a blessed and peaceful holy day. Islam, praise Allah, honest to the Prophet, honest to you all for making a meeting. I yield.
Islam, Islam, Islam. It says, like trees of gold planted in beds of silver are wise words uttered in due season. They are immensely valuable, Moors. Valuable. The more talked about the prophet Jesus' own personal struggles with his lower self. All right. Jesus lived according to, biblical history, Quranic history, spiritual teachings over or about 2,000 years ago. And still to this day, his life works and teachings at that time impact the lives of billions of people. Billions of people learn from this man's example, all right? And what makes him a perfect example for us is the fact that he was just like us and he went through something, okay? From the time the prophet Jesus was born, think about what he was going through. Archelaus, the son of Herod, was a selfish and a cruel king. Ain't that right, Moors? He was a selfish and a cruel king. He put to death all those who did not honor him. And from the time the prophet Jesus was born, this selfish and cruel king wanted to put him to death. So Jesus spent his entire childhood on the run. It's the reason why Mary and Joseph were so nervous. When coming from the Feast of Pascha, they turned and could not locate their child. They was nervous because they knew that the king wanted their son dead. Okay, this is the equivalent today as if the president of the United States of America wanted the life of any one of us. Who would he send? He would send the military, the CIA, the police, and he would throw every single solitary resource at his disposal at your capture, especially if you were an infant claiming to his throne. All right? So this man, Jesus, who went through all of this, still remained obedient to his father. At the age of 12, while disputing with the doctors of the law, to be found by his mother, who we know was aching in her heart and praying to Allah that she could find her child. She found her child and she said, "Why do you treat your parents thus? Why do you treat your parents thus?" And what did he say to his mother? "Do you not know that I must be about my father's work? Do you not know that I must be about my father's work?" Not only does this show, this is a great display of courage. It is an awesome display of obedience, despite. So he's an example for us because despite anything that we go through, ain't there one of us going through anything that hard, that tough, okay? Okay? They had to escape from Israel to zone Egypt. Wasn't no trains, wasn't no buses, wasn't no airplanes. Okay? So they had to make this trek on foot or on the back of some beast. They had to find somewhere where they could eat and sleep every night. Could you imagine what some of those conditions were like where they had to eat and sleep at night? This is why he's a great example for us. And then he turns around and he admits what? My lower self is strong. By many times I am bound down to carnal life. Do I have the strength to give my life a willing sacrifice for the sons of men? We're talking about someone who looked into the future and knew exactly what the consequences of his actions would be. And despite it, he was obedient to his father. And here we are 2,000 years later. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that these secret lessons are for all those who love Jesus. It's not an accident that we love Jesus. It's not an accident that you are loved by anybody who loves you. I love you for a reason. I love you because I know you. I know you even if you don't know yourself. I know what you are going through. I know the struggle. Okay? How do I know? Because I've been there and I've done that. I've suffered. Allah has tested each and every single solitary last one of us in our own way. And what does he say in this book? He say that perfected man must pass through all the ways of life. Therefore, we all have to go through these same trials. So even if, perchance, by chance, I have not experienced what you are currently experiencing, I do know that it's only a matter of time before it arrives at my door, Moors. So absolutely, we need not only to come to our holy meetings so that we could be recharged, but so that we could be prepared. So we could be prepared to meet these obstacles that we are sure and for certain to face. Every single solitary last one of us. It say unnumbered foes will stand before the face of man. Unnumbered. You can't count them. You can't count them. All right? Happy holy day. It is a custom in the Moorish Science Temple of America whenever teaching a group of Moors, wayfarers, sympathizers, or just plain seekers after the truth that one take a reading from the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Circle 7, divinely prepared by the noble prophet. And I want to take my reading from chapter number 9, right? Chapter number 9. Jesus attends a feast in Bahir, and here he taught human equality. It says, the fame of Jesus as a teacher spread through all the land, and people came from near and far to hear his words of truth. At Bahir on the sacred river of the Brahms, he taught for many days. And Ak, a wealthy man of Bahir, made a feast in honor of his guests, and he invited everyone to come. And many came, among them thieves, extortioners, and courtesans. And Jesus sat with them and taught. But they who followed him were much aggrieved, because he sat with thieves and courtesans. And they upbraided him. They said, Rabboni, master of the wise, this day will be an evil day for you. The news was spread that you consort with courtesans, and men will shun you as they shun an ass. And Jesus answered them and said, a master never screens himself for the sake of reputation or of fame. These are but worthless babbles of the day. They arise and sink like empty bottles on the stream. They are illusions and will pass away. Islam. These were the people who were with him, the people who followed him, the people who he sat down with day and night, broke bread with, and taught from his mouth to their ear. This proves that they did not appreciate the blessing that was the prophet Jesus in their presence. Listen to some of the things they say. They say, this day will be an evil day for you. Knowing all that he had been through. This day will be an evil day for you. The day where there is a feast. A wealthy man made a feast and called everybody to hear this individual's words of truth. This was an honored day. But what was so evil? He sat with thieves, extortioners, and courtesans. But what did they point out? That he sat with courtesans. Because everybody know who the courtesans are. Men will shun you like they shun an ass because you're hanging out with the courtesans, with the hookers, with the prostitutes. It ain't no issue that you hanging out with the extortioners and the thieves, but you're hanging out with the prostitutes. Listen to this, Morgs. These were the people who was with them. I want us to examine this with care. He had been speaking to these ones. What did the sister point out earlier about how she tried to communicate this wisdom to certain people and they are not yet prepared to receive it? Okay? In the scripture, we realize that most of Jesus' disciples were not yet prepared to receive what he had taught them. But after he was gone, they decided to do what? To be Christ-like. And to a man, aside from Judas, each and every single solitary last one considered the work that the prophet Jesus had started. Ain't that right, y'all? To the point where they found themselves in prison. Ain't that right, y'all? To the point where the scripture tells us that one day they spoke in tongues. Say they spoke in tongues. Say it was a whole rack of people. It was Arabians, it was Ethiopians, it was Egyptians, it was Roman Gentiles. And of course, it was Hebrews. And every single solitary last one of them understood what they said. You know why? Because they were speaking words of life. The words of life do not belong to any one of us, y'all. God has put us through everything that we go through, from the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay? The trials that we had to face in the streets, the trials that we face as parents raising up hard-headed, stiff-necked children. Yeah, that's just shot at all the young Moors on the call. Your hard-headed, stiff-necked children. That's just shot at y'all. But these trials, they prepare us to be vessels for our Father God Allah, to be able to communicate the words of life to individuals who are going through and will for surely go through the things that he has already put us through, so that we can gather understanding of these things more. All right? Each and every single solitary last one of y'all know that I spent a long time inside of the decimal crypts. And the truth is, I needed every single solitary minute. I needed every minute. It had come to the point where I knew it. I knew it without the shadow of a doubt that Allah was not going to send me home until I was ready to come home. And even more than that, I started to do this work there because I understood that my present concern was the concerns that deserved my attention. So I started to do this work there. And I knew then that until I was finished doing my work there, Allah would not send me home. All right? Wherever you find yourself, that's where you're supposed to be, Morris. Whatever you are going through, that situation, that ordeal is tailor-made for your benefit. For your, even if it's a punishment. Remember, we are taught in the Moorish Science Temple of America that Allah is all God. He is also all mercy. So even when he punishes you, he is blessing you. Understand that. Okay? Even when he's punishing you, he is blessing you. Receive that blessing. Open yourself up and receive the blessing. Receive it intentionally and say, thank you, Allah. Thank you for it. All right? Every single solitary thing we go through, it makes us stronger. For anybody who has went through any form of physical training, no matter what it is, you know that without a doubt or a contradiction, the more difficult and strenuous is your training, the more powerful you become. This is the absolute truth for every part of you, Mark. for every part of you. You would not put yourself through it. You would give up if you were not developing mental fortitude. You would not care if your spirit did not urge you to care about your own health and your ability to protect yourself from physical things. You wouldn't care because it's tough, it's hard, it's difficult, it's not easy. All right? Allah reveals these things to us by degrees. By degrees. Everything is unfolded by the measure, Moors. By the measure. So I want to say this to our young people. Please, and I speak to you from experience, do not rush life. All right? If you rush life, you will regret it. I can guarantee you that. These times right now, where your responsibilities are limited, is the time, the opportunity that every single solitary old fool like me wish that we could have back. I wish that I can go back in time sometime and just carry my behind to school. I wish that I would just go to class. I wish that I would just sit down when somebody was trying to talk to me, because later on in life, I found out what those people had been through. I found out the wisdom that they had gathered. And now here it is that they are no longer here with us. I wish that I could have been open to it and received it when I had the chance opportunity. Don't rush life. When I was a young person, 15, 16, 14, 17, running around game banging, selling dope, every day I woke up and I was like, man, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I gotta get to the block because this is going down. I got to call such and such a source. I didn't have to do nothing. I didn't have no bills. I had not yet had no babies. I didn't have no responsibility. My only responsibility, I did not attend to it. All I needed to do was carry my behind a class and pay attention to what the adults were doing, because one day I would become an adult. Pay attention, good, bad, and the ugly. Know that we all make mistakes, but we don't all have to consistently make the same mistakes. You can learn from my mistakes. You can learn from her mistakes and his mistakes and their mistakes, and you don't have to go through this stuff. But you got to pay attention and trust yourself. And what do I mean by trust yourself? There is something in every single solitary last one of us called understanding. It is in you. It's already there. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America teaches us that the gifts of the understanding are the treasures of Allah, and He appointed to everyone his portion in what measure seemeth good unto himself. You came into this world with it. You brought it with you when you arrived. Pay attention to it. You understand that certain things are not good for you. Don't partake in these things. Don't eat what ain't good for you. Don't hang out with people who are not good for you. You know what is good for you. You are young, but still, you see the people who are successful, who are not struggling. You know what they did to be successful and to not struggle. You see the people who are going through hell, because hell is here on earth. And we create our own. We can all be in the same room at the same time. Well, some of us are in hell while some of us are in heaven. Some of us are doing nothing while some of us are building a beautiful future. Okay? Even though we occupy the same space at the same time, we are uniquely different. And all we have to do is to utilize what we came here with. Okay? The things that we pick up along the way is extra. The tools in the workshop of the mind, you brought them here. Work them tools, okay? Learn to work them tools, perfect your craft, become proficient in your profession. I see ills and I see bays. Mostly I see bays. Our profession is more science, okay? That's what we do. Become proficient in it, and I guarantee you, life is going to be very, very, very much a whole lot easier for you than it was for me. All right? And I bear witness that today, It's hard. Y'all know why life is hard for me? It's only one reason. Because I understand the possibilities of man. I understand that the higher ideas generate in my mind, in my soul, a vision of a beautiful and loving and wonderful Allah. Because a man's ideal is his God. And as man unfolds, his God unfolds. So since I understand these things, I'm working for it, Moors. I'm not gonna even front. I'm trying to get it. I know it's my responsibility to go get it. And I know that ain't nothing worth having gonna be easy to get. And I'm sorry, y'all, but he said that he gave to my brother justice all the powers that were in and are in heaven and earth. And Jesus said that to you I give all the power in heaven and earth. And let me tell y'all something. A lot of people like to believe that he was talking to everybody. You better go back and read that again. He wasn't talking to everybody. He was talking to a select group. Okay? A select group. I want to be accounted and a part of the number. You understand me? He was talking to the brotherhood. All right? Become a part of the brotherhood. Okay? We work. We work. We putting in work. Because we know that if it's worth having, I'm going to say it again, if it's worth having, it's going to be difficult to get. We're going to have to work for it. Islam, Moors, all praises due to Allah. Happy holy day, Moors. Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. So all over the world, we are all sharing something. Matter of fact, we're sharing a lot. You know how many prayers were offered to Allah today? You know how many of these affirming prayers on this day? All the Moorish Americans, all the true and the faithful, all the true and the faithful members of the Moorish Science Temple of America today, we all said the same thing. It don't matter what body you with. It don't matter who your leadership is. All right. We all opened up our meeting according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And we prayed to Allah. Islam. Praise Allah for that. Praise Allah for the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and praise Allah for you. I love you. Peace and love, Moors. I want to say peace and love to Facebook. It's time for us to close out our meeting. So I'm going to stop this live stream.